I think
Ooh, she's
Oh,
official.
that's
wow.
good.
How'd you like that?
Nice.
There you go. Go ahead.
Okay, in attendance, we have Mayor Hughes, Village Planner Eric Fisher, Council President Brian Wolf. Is that you, David, down there?
Yes, sir, it is.
Councilperson David McNamara and Councilperson Mark Bruger. That's me. Looks like Eric is already sharing the noise ordinance. So Eric, I'll let you walk through that.
I appreciate that. And just a quick question for clarification. Is Diane no longer in this one? David is now on this committee? Or did I get that messed up?
I
Not
don't
certain.
remember.
That is my understanding.
Okay, perfect. I mistakenly sent it to her earlier. So David, I'll fire this off to you as well. It's
That's all right. I'm reading it right now.
very good. So
He's also
essentially,
here, you know.
okay,
Oh, here's Diane anyhow.
yeah, that'll work.
Also in attendance, Councilperson Diane Shrimp.
Very good. All right. So just to catch everybody up after, a little bit of a hiatus on the noise ordinance, Jesse had done a review of what we had sent him at the end of last year. I pulled that out of my email. So all of the red marks on this are his. Then taking our notes, Mark, that you forwarded me after the last meeting, there were a few things like the 50 to 75 feet. So I changed that and added your notes at the bottom here, I believe. Let me just scroll to that, which, were more, I think, of a continuing discussion item as to whether or not I wasn't clear if we wanted them in there, I didn't want them in there. So hence the reason for some of our meeting. So pretty much that's what we've got. Scroll back up slowly here. So we'll kind of start here and work through it. And that's the attorney's mark out. So just to point out, he took out unreasonable noise, added the number 6 item, which again is something that I believe that was also in some of the other municipal codes out there, such as Dublin. And then continuing to scroll down, the other addition to our code then is, well, the removal of these items here. So you remove that language. And another note I put in there is there was a note about the church bells. Was the intent to remove the church bells or to leave them in?
Or is there a significant church bell issue? I don't think I've ever heard any.
I don't think there is, but I just wanted to point that out, that there was a note in what I received.
I think we should, I personally feel we should leave it in. We do have a church in the village.
Okay.
I don't know that they ever use bells. Tiffany, do they ever bell? That doesn't mean someone couldn't buy it, open up there or whatever, and put the little loudspeakers on top that ring the bells at the start of church because they want
Okay.
to. I mean,
Okay. So I'll pull that out and leave it as is, because there was already an exemption that was where they were pulled out, and then just leave up your additional notes and see if there's anything else that we wanted to add, take out, or adjust based on nighttime, weekday, workday, weekend type terminology.
I'm sorry, I was multitasking. What was the question or the statement that we were groaning or reacting to?
this blue thing here is stuff
Okay.
that's not in there, but we've been discussing. Do we want to use it? I believe.
Okay, so I have a quick question. And honestly, I could probably read this and you could probably, but I'm sure you could probably answer my question better. I will already say that there was a post this past weekend of people running their lawn. So number 7, lawnmowers and other similar motorized landscape equipment used between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. But on that particular one, and maybe it's further up, it doesn't say between weekend and whatever. So is there something with that? Because I can promise you on Sunday morning, nobody wants to hear a lawnmower. And that was pretty, I think we're all in agreement on that. Maybe not. I don't want to hear a lawnmower at 7 a.m. Sunday.
So this is one of those tricky ones, right? Because
Yes.
we want people to mow their grass, and we know full well some of those that are getting.
Maybe that's normally out.
I leave it up to council, and I fully understand it. I get upset if my neighbor's mowing at 7 in the morning on a Sunday morning, waking people up. It's rare. Someone
Right.
inevitably does it, but they may only be able to do it for the whole week at that point in time. So
It may be 90 degrees that day and all of that. And I'm going to be honest with you. If it was Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., I'd probably not be happy. I'm going to say that too. So this is for you guys to discuss. I'm just saying Facebook post. I don't want to bring up Facebook like we always do, but I think you guys may or may not have seen it. And that was Sunday morning. And I believe that was at like 8 something. And somebody was, again, I don't want to say complaining, but maybe questioning. So that's on you guys now. I'm just bringing it up. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if the sun's out, the gun's out. I would rather people mow their lawn than not. And I feel like the social contract of let's not be annoying to our neighbor is different than legislating when one can and can't mow. That is my opinion.
Good opinion.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to avoid excessive nanny state kind of legislation here, but I personally wouldn't want to hear a lawnmower at 7 in the morning either. But I don't know. That's not a hill I'll die on, I guess.
I think I'm in agreement. I think if I had the choice between a 7 a.m. lawnmower and my neighbors looking like crap, I'd rather it be mowed. So, it's double-edged sword, whichever you, again, I brought it up because of a current comment. And I know that there was, again, I'm seeing some stuff down here for nighttime hours, and I'm glad we're doing all of that. So it was just a thought. Diane, do you have a thought too?
I would rather hear a lawnmower than barking dogs.
Truth? I mean, it's a great,
that's-
yeah, it's a great point.
Because
Okay.
at least the lawnmower will end when the job is done, right?
Yes, that's right.
The dogs will bark all day and all night.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with everything that's being said. Naturally, I would rather not hear a lawnmower at 7 a.m. But like I said, I can deal with it. It's it is, as Brian says, a social contract. You think about it. Do I really need to do it now? Because really, it's not very polite to do it now. So it's that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the social contract as well. It's a good concept.
Well, and here's the thing, and I to go both directions is at least they're not doing it every single morning at 7 a.m. I would think. So
Right.
you only cut it once a week or once every 10 days.
Yeah, once a week, maybe once every 5 days in the real rainy spring. People are going to mow their lawn. 7 o'clock seems reasonable. I'm not up on 7 o'clock on a Sunday, but if my neighbor wanted to mow his lawn because he's got to mow his lawn and get on the road for Chicago later that day, mow his lawn.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing to remember about comments and posts online is, everyone's favorite thing to do online is to complain, and it's nice that they feel like they can be heard, and then they can be patted on the head and say, that's bad. That's bad for you.
Yeah. I was kind of shocked I think sometimes people just want to see if other people are going to say, yeah, me too. But so it's kind of curious or interesting to see what the comments are. But I was kind of shocked to see that someone was trying to make a case for not mowing after 8 p.m. Because, sometimes it's so awfully hot that I was mulling that over, that it was hard to de-stress and get ready for bed because, from 8 to whatever. And I'm thinking, what? So that's the way it goes.
That's actually pretty fair because I would be that person that would say I would rather cut my grass at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I've been known to cut my grass at 8 o'clock, 8:30, whatever, when you
Yeah.
get home from the kids' sporting event. So I
Yeah.
guess, if people are trying to put their kid to bed at 7 p.m., I guess I'm just as bad as the person doing it at 7 a.m. So
Yeah.
you have that too.
Yep. So the stuff that was on the bottom in blue, is it not incorporated? Are the definitions being incorporated or not incorporated?
Well, that's the question for the group. How do you want these incorporated? These were notes that I think were discussed and Mark suggested. I wanted to make sure they were front and center with other changes as reviewed by the attorney. If you want these in there, we can find a way to incorporate them. I was just looking back through because I was trying to determine if the definitions are important if we are making separations, and I think that's part of the question here. At the bottom, the ask is, do we, Westerville also adds a difference in the start of night noise restriction based on work night, weekend. Do you want that as well, right? So that's where it comes in. So this is important if you want to make those distinctions. If you don't want to make the distinctions and it's finances, and we wouldn't incorporate those.
I don't
So,
think there's enough of a distinction between the two or the three.
do you mean in definitionally, there's not enough distinction between nighttime and,
Well, the hours, picking out hours for and weekdays versus weekends, it's a difference of an hour, isn't it?
yeah,
9 versus 10. That's a lot of incorporation, a lot of work for 1 hour.
It is, but that's where, quite frankly, that's where the lawnmower discussion comes in as a good example. You're allowed to the mower is allowed to operate during these times on a weekday versus the weekend, right? And then the weekday and weekend are defined. So if you want to leave it as is every day, then we don't bring those in.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not, I do see it both ways. I think that Diane is right that there should be maybe a little more differentiation, like on the weekends, you let things start, you make things have to start a little later. But I don't know. I feel like that is a lot to administer and control, and a lot of, in the end, it'll be our officers who wind up enforcing this. And, over an hour's difference, is it worth that much brain power?
Yeah, I'm looking through the text, and most of our things, have the 7 to 9, 7 to 9. And there you go. I don't know that we need different things. And then, when your neighbor's having too loud of a party, go say, hey, they're having too loud of a party. Go next door and talk to them. Ask if they'll turn it down.
Well, I also think that the part of the difference is that the current language is drafted as a reasonableness standard, and a reasonable person would have a different standard naturally between day and night,
Yes.
right? And that's where, that's why that kind of standard is both useful and problematic, but I think that's where it probably lives.
I definitely think, for the month of July, at least, we should extend night to like 10 o'clock, 10:30, or day until 10 or 10:30, because you can't set off fireworks and see them until it gets dark. So you have to wait.
Should we have a carve out for fireworks? That's interesting.
No.
No, we
I don't
did.
believe
It's towards the
so.
bottom, I believe.
No, I think
Patriotic
we do
celebration.
for city.
Yeah,
City,
just-
not for
just
the
if the-
individual.
if the municipality blesses it, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting point about fireworks, because I think, it depends on your feeling about them. Most municipalities don't allow them to fire off. I can't recall our code off the end of the day.
Well, I think the village is probably divided on that as well. I wish we didn't. I know a lot of, I'd say about 50% of the residents surrounding me shoot off some fireworks. About 50-50.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually legal at all, but I just don't think we enforce it much.
I
So
don't,
kind of-
I don't think that if you even, because I'm sure some people have called the police, I'm sure they must not enforce it.
No, I would say police departments on 4th of July don't enforce it except in certain circumstances. For example, I will tell you a little story. A few years ago, we celebrated at my mother-in-law's place in Gahanna, and the neighbor it wasn't even directly around us, but a couple doors down, took umbrage with our display, and the Gahanna officer showed up quite annoyed and said, look, he said, I'm not happy to be here, but I'm here and I got to respond to the complaint. I got to ask you guys to stop. So that was kind of a buzzkill. We had to bring it back to my house. Does happen.
And
Yeah.
for years after the Park of Roses fireworks, I lived across the street from a park, down the street from that park, where people would set off fireworks for about an hour. And then CPD would show up and they'd walk up and say, all right, everyone, have a good night. See yourself out. You know, they'd wait. Okay, you've had an hour. It's time to cut it off. Just pack up your stuff and go.
Okay, I missed part of this conversation, so the only thing I'm gonna tell you is
Oh.
my 2 cents. Are you ready?
Yeah,
I think Friday night, Saturday night needs to be later than Monday through whatever, and that's all I gotta say. I think it needs to be 1 hour later. I think Friday night and Saturday night, expecting people to be done at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and then trying to decipher months between this or that. It's too difficult for the police officers, and hopefully that's where you guys ended up.
Can you scroll up to the language that's in red, Eric?
At the top right here.
Yeah. Right. So, right, it all kind of comes down to, in my opinion, those two clauses: creating or causing the creation of a noise so as it disturbs or disrupts the peace and quiet of any reasonable person of normal sensitivity, right, including but not limiting to the following. And it is in the enforcement of reasonable there, right? The disturbing the peace of any reasonable person of normal sensitivity. So what I was trying to express before is that an officer who would be witnessing the noise would be determining if it is reasonable, and part of what makes it reasonable or not reasonable is the hour of the day. But that would be up to, not just the hour of the day, but the temperature of the environment. It would be two different things. If there were two parties on the street and everybody's having a grand old time, well, it's probably reasonable then. It's a different thing if it's, one house in the middle of the road and all the neighbors are complaining, it quickly becomes less reasonable. And that's why this language is used so commonly, because it allows an officer the opportunity to adjudicate, or that's not quite the right word, but to ascertain, there you go, that's a good one, what is reasonable.
All I guess I think I'm doing is thinking back to the people getting irritated because people are having parties, and what people outside laughing. I mean, are people outside screaming? Are they laughing? Are they just irritated because it's multiple people shutting car doors? Just because you have 10 people shutting a car door doesn't necessarily, I mean, just because it's irritating to you, I don't think.
Right,
so I don't know. I mean, I guess,
So-
can you legislate everything? No.
Right?
So,
Can we ask at what time of night is it no longer reasonable to shut your car door?
right. So
Right.
that's what I'm arguing with myself about, whether or not 9 is important or 10 is important or 11 is important. I think, what some people are complaining about, you can't really solve that in legislation anyways. I mean, yes, a loud boombox speaker as loud as possible. I think that this does that. But I think that, again, you have to be respectful to your neighbors in both directions. Just because your neighbor's having a small shindig going on at 10 o'clock at night, let them.
So I will try to play it the other way. If you put a specific time, then
Right.
you fall into the realm of malicious compliance, right? They say, it says I can be noisy until 10 p.m.
Right.
and at 10:59 and 59 seconds, I will turn down my music, and not a second earlier. And I would argue that is also not necessarily reasonable, nor what we would want to, by giving those kinds of explicit guidelines, you foster the opportunity for malicious compliance.
I could see that as well. Being
Bill,
a potential.
Of course, because I'd be that guy. Like if I had a contentious relationship with my neighbor and they were on me for being loud because we're out on my deck every day that we can, right? Of course, if I knew that I had to comply to a number, you'd get not one penny less from me, well, not one penny more from me. And that's just how it would be.
I don't like that I'm the only one laughing at that. Nobody else is laughing at that. But Brian, I can so see that. I'm sorry.
Right?
That was
Yeah.
funny.
Well, of course, right? I mean, of course, I've never had a contentious relationship with a single neighbor because they're almost always invited
Right.
and almost always show up. But you know, if it were like that, of course you would
Right.
take those rules and use them to your benefit.
Well, again, I think I can honestly say, I mean, and again, I hate bringing Facebook into this, but somebody had posted something not too long ago. Again, I'm not going into detail on this because I thought it was absolutely ridiculous and it was the middle of the afternoon. And so again, I think that's just one of those things that, you know, at some point, I think you need to, I'm going to say something that's not going to be a fan favorite, but at some point you got to get over yourself and realize that you're not the only person that lives here. And if it annoys you for a few minutes, just realize that it's going to go away very soon. Right now, those cicada things or whatever they are, that's annoying.
For goodness sake, that happens every 17 years.
Okay, it's
There are
17 years
people-
too soon.
There are people who are whining about this who aren't even born when the cicadas were buried as eggs in 2000 and I don't know 2003. That's just the tree hugger in me. Just enjoy it.
I'm not
just-
enjoying it. It is not peaceful on my walk anymore. So David, you and I are going to box after this. So I'm not
It's-
having it. It's because I feel like I'm in a scary movie. Okay, we're going to move on.
It is just a wonder of nature.
It's not that loud yet. You have to wait. It'll get louder.
Yeah.
It'll get louder.
We're only about a third of the way there, right?
Yeah.
So I guess our noise ordinance isn't really going to matter.
Yeah,
That's
unless
what
you want to
need
cite,
You need to arrest all those cicadas and put them in jail.
unless
All
you want
right.
to cite every single cicada.
I'm sure there's chemicals we can spray that get them all.
Hey, no chemicals.
Absolutely not.
I'm with you, Mark. I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
mind
so
them, but I am
my
done.
answer is, here's all I'm going to say. I think you guys have done great on this, just because I don't think there is nothing that's going to please everybody whatsoever. Brian, you have some really valid points as far as, you know, everybody's different. I mean, you can't legislate everything. You're never going to make everybody happy. People make noise. You can either tolerate it or you don't. And some people can't tolerate any noise whatsoever. And then you have people like me that, you know, it'll stop. So the only thing, and I shouldn't say that, Eric will vouch for it. I was screaming at him on a Saturday via text because the alarm was going off over here every 15 minutes, but
It was
it
going
went
off a
off the
lot.
entire weekend. And we're not talking, it was an alarm.
It was a problem.
So I do think that there is a difference between a noise and the fact that you legit can't go to bed the entire 2 days.
Well,
Right.
and if
That's a
we go back
nuisance.
to that language that I was pointing out,
Right.
it
exactly.
is, you know, the fact that it was the same noise repeated and unnecessary would make it such that
Right.
a person would find it unreasonable, right? And that's again why that standard is so commonly used. My only question here is that the real reason why we went down all this to begin with was that we felt that what was currently on the books was not toothsome enough, right? That's why we engaged in this exercise at all. And my question is this at all more toothsome than what we currently have? And I think we should probably, Eric, since you're sharing the screens, can you pull up what's currently, because this is an amendment to a certain section.
So essentially, this is the section,
Yeah.
648.04. Everything in red is what has been reduced. And Jesse took the opportunity to get rid of some language he didn't like in there.
Yeah.
And we added number 6. Okay, that was the big clause that gives us more ability to enforce.
So that's our new big tooth.
Yes. So.
Okay, yeah,
In
no,
the
that,
next- So everything else is the same, except for a few additions, you know, that we could add in here. You know, the things he removed. And then, of course, I'll remove the church bells. And I guess the other comment then simply is, you know, from what I understand here, I just want to make sure, I will simply remove the additional notes. We're not going to utilize these definitions. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand?
That's what I'm hearing. I don't think we need all that extra hoopla.
Okay. All right. That being the case, it's fairly straightforward. We'll produce this in the form of a ordinance and bring it up to next council meeting.
Awesome.
Good.
Tiffany, are you going to be at tonight's council meeting? At one point you thought you weren't.
No, just so you guys are aware, her banquet is tonight, and no, I'm not going
Okay, so,
because I do have a lot for you guys and you're gonna hate me.
yeah, I was about to say, because it's getting close to 6:30. Let's walk through the legislation for tonight, because I think you have stuff to say about it.
I do.
2021-17, Phase 2 with Garmin Miller, that's pretty self-explanatory, second reading, no worries. Fee schedule, second reading, is that just we don't have to rush that, that's just a second reading?
It's just a second reading, and just to point both of those two out, the great part about both of those is we will have a Saturday morning work session. Eric and myself have reached out to Garmin Miller for some additional information that Tony and Diane and a couple people had asked some information for us to kind of work through with them, just to see, just double dotting our I's, crossing our T's type thing. Maybe that's not the best way to say it, but we want to be able to discuss those in complete detail, work session, not this Saturday, but whenever it is, for the fee schedule and that. So Brian, if you could make a note for the agenda on that, to set aside some extra time for both of those, because we want to talk about solicitor permit. We do want to talk about a couple of those quick things and just make sure that when it gets to you guys Monday, that we're not going in a circle.
All right,
I-
move up. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I have made a note.
Gotcha, you're just saying, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, and then moving on to 2021-19 tax budget, first reading. Is that just a first reading and we don't have to worry about it?
Correct. That's the first reading. And then just a quick version on that. We do the two readings. The tax budget meeting will be at 6 or 6:30, only because I can't remember. So don't quote me on that. June 28th. The reason for that is because that is when Kim is available to do the tax budget meeting. And then once it's passed, we will need to do it as an emergency because it has to be turned in, I believe, July 20th. But the reason for that, again, is because the meeting that Kim can do for the public during a public meeting is the June 28th meeting. So just, not that anybody asked, I'm just trying to give the full picture.
Awesome, that is great. Then we have 20 and 21, which are both appointing police officers. And your intent is for us to waive and pass as an emergency.
Yes, so let's have that conversation. We'll make this quick. So we're gonna call it one of TIF's finest non-moments. As you can see the dates on these, we forgot to do them. So I can sugarcoat it, I can say COVID, I can call it Becky left, I can call it TIF forgot, and we're just gonna call it all of the above. I'm taking full responsibility. That's that, forgot to do them.
So these are people who are actively working as police officers,
For
but
5
were
months.
never approved by council because we forgot to do it.
Simple
Okay,
as that.
I can explain that during the
Okay.
meeting. That's not a
So
problem.
just for the background, we did contact Jesse. This is for you guys to know, maybe not for the meeting, but we did contact Jesse and ask Jesse whether or not we really did need to do it as an emergency. I would be more than happy to forward that email to you guys because I don't want you to do something if you guys are concerned about it. First off, this is how they used to always be done. And to just kind of go back to this, it is probably smarter that we do these. And Brian, I know we started doing these 3 readings and not doing them as an emergency. But there could actually be potential issues by not doing it because they're not technically legal. They are legal with the state. They do work with us. But as far as being full employees and doing all of that kind of stuff, Jesse just kind of made it seem like we really should be doing this. They really should be appointed and they should be approved from council. He is saying that we really need to do this as an emergency and we're not in trouble for not doing it. But when we appoint these, we probably should be doing them a little faster than what we are doing them currently.
Makes good sense to me. And they've been working with us for what, 5 months, you said?
One is 5, one is 4. And like I said, our building was closed. We didn't have a meeting till January. Becky left at the end of January. This
That's
leads
fine.
into,
Thanks,
well, no,
Brian. Doesn't matter why.
it
We can move
leads
on there.
into another thing we'll talk about later, more about having I do not have a clerk of council, but I do have somebody that's going to be helping more with that.
All right. And then we have ordinance 08, 2021. I believe this is the stuff that we wanted to do last time, but did not have enough people. This is our back taxes or our fine or what have you.
And it lowered,
Mhm.
and it did lower. She was asking for, I
good.
think, 3,000 before. We were able to get it back down. So the number does look much prettier now, and hopefully that's it. So,
We have to get this passed and waived and everything so we can give a check to our
Correct.
regulatory body.
correct. And then the second list is the $1,500, and that is just for me to have a little bit of a cushion for the pool. And then I'll explain all that later, because I want to give you guys a break as well between the
Well,
two. So you guys.
that is, yeah, and that's all the legislation I have on the agenda. There's nothing else, right?
No. I'm gonna do the appointment for, recommend Eddie Bell for planning and zoning, which is on the agenda, just so you guys are aware, because we had somebody step down. And last but not least, I have a crap ton of stuff to go through with you guys because I wasn't at Monday's meeting. Is there anybody that's gonna really be upset if this meeting isn't over in 20 minutes? Because it's not gonna be. I'll
You'll-
try. I will, if nobody,
You mean what meeting? You mean the council meeting?
yeah. I have a lot.
It's a council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it's for. That's what we're here to
Sounds
do.
like last
Put on
as
your,
long as it
your
lasts.
best, your best Micro Machines spokesman pace and just get it going.
Well, and as long, I mean, there's gonna be a couple things you guys aren't gonna love, and I already know I'm gonna get backlash on it, one or two. But we're not passing it right now. It's stuff for you guys to ponder. So I think that's just it. I think it's conversations that I'm really just trying to get going, and there's gonna be argument, and that's just all I can tell you. So the suspense will kill you.
Okay, that's
Well,
fine.
so-
I'm willing to be suspended. Do you, just going back to legislation for a minute, for codification, was the submission for 2019, I couldn't tell, looking at the codified ordinances, et cetera. Did that ever come back to you finished from our contact there?
Almost positive. We just finished updating our books. Do this for me. Wait until tomorrow. I will send you a message as to the last ones I received, because we got the big books, then we got an update, and then I did get a small version. But let me tell you what the dates were on that. But I'm going to answer you as yes. I am pretty positive.
Okay, because then we should be doing 2020. We
Yes.
should be submitting 2020, right?
If you,
Okay,
yeah,
so if
I
you could
should remember.
confirm that,
Mhm.
and then I'd be happy to submit it or have somebody else do it.
and maybe we could wait just like a week or two. And I know everybody wants to get off here. So again, I do have some people trying to work on.
Getting that
I'm not, I want you to know that I heard your comment and it's affected me many times. I want the attachments on there. So maybe we need to take a week or two to go through and see what attachments are there before we do the codified ordinances, or else then they're not on the website and they're not on all that. So if you would just bear with us, maybe give us a little bit on that, because it is a problem. I'm not in disagreement with you. It needs to be done.
And then on one of the legislations, I don't know if it got fixed because I didn't look at the agenda again. They had, one of the ones was 2021-2021 instead of 2021-21.
Say that in English. What did you just say?
But I think it was either, it was an ordinance or it was, I don't know which it was, but it was, the numbering scheme was 2021-2021. So
On the
I don't know if
agenda
that
or on
got-
the actual legislation?
that got fixed. That's for legislation for tonight.
On the agenda,
Agenda's right, so it must be on the
Alright.
legislation.
2021, 17, 18, 19,
I'm sure I did it.
2021, 20, yep. It does it goes 2021-2020, yeah. It's on the actual legislation, not on the agenda.
I'll get it fixed in the morning as long as everybody's okay with that. Unless you guys want me to run in and fix it, I can have it to you in a few minutes. Is it
Well, no,
okay?
I just want to make sure it gets fixed because
That one's one of the ones we need to do it as an emergency. So that's why I want to make sure, because if
if
so,
it's
I'll get
not,
it.
if it's not urgent, then sometimes it gets forgotten.
I will have it fixed in the morning. Actually, I will have it fixed in a minute. So, but you guys won't be able to see it.
But it'll get fixed.
Beautiful.
So for those of you guys interested in it, I did see David sent out the native plant list. David, are you still looking to get actual,
I've got an update on that.
okay,
Oh, yes, yes. I was hoping to get some input to make like kind of a master list to attach to the native plants resolution. This is more specific for areas around the signs that I'd hope we could get done this summer, but I would love to hear what Diane's got to say.
Yeah, I talked to Lisa, and she and I have been going back and forth. And based on feedback, I'm waiting for one more piece of feedback from Lisa. Based on feedback, I redid the Excel spreadsheet before and after. I did an app. I took the recommendations and I redid the Excel spreadsheet. That's Appendix C in the code from 1278.08.
Okay,
And so giving it back to her one more time to review. And if she's okay with it, I'll give it back to you, David, and everybody else. And it should be good to go. The thing that, we both noticed is there's only trees. And so I think we could go ahead and do this part, but I think Lisa and I would also like to work on either bushes and perennials or just a list of the 10 most noxious things you shouldn't plant, or if you've got it in your yard, you should pull it out, kind of thing. We'd like to do something like that, like bamboo would probably be on there, for example. And
yes,
and
yes.
certain kinds of honeysuckle, for example. And it would probably be easier to just say, don't plant this, or if you planted this, please pull it. Than it would be to put a list of everything that's, okay.
That
So-
is a really good, that is a wonderful idea, because that was what my main holdup has been with this, is how inclusive, how big to make this list. And I think that maybe having a few recommendations is good, but perhaps a more do not list makes more sense, because of course we can put something in about, milkweed and, bee balm and, blazing star, stuff like that, but, absolutely no honeysuckle kind of stuff. I'd love to see what that list would look like. And you're also talking about the list of the recommended trees for the village, correct?
Yeah, the trees is the one I think we can get done, and that one would be able to slide in to the spot that's there for it in Appendix C. Anything else we do would be a total addition to what's already there in the landscape section.
Yeah, and
we
I'd
can
like
get-
us to be able to
yeah.
do that, or at least pass a resolution without the list, or without a list of specifics that would encourage, pollinator friendly and native plants for our, major construction projects. But I don't know.
I think that's the section is really kind of interesting, but I think we need to bite it off in small chunks. Otherwise, we'll be at it for a year trying to get it right.
Well, some progress is good. We got to move on it. We got to make some progress and update that thing, and hopefully improve upon other aspects of it.
Yep, I agree.
all right, well, it sounds like motion's going on that. Make sure you include
Yes.
ivies of all kinds as things not to plant. If I could find whoever it was who planted that English ivy in my backyard, I'd.
Oh, I've got plenty of that. Come over to my house. You can have some more. Pull.
You guys want to hear a horrible story?
Yes.
You guys know I don't plant anything and I don't do anything, right? Because I'm just not that person. I was so excited because Lisa gave me a couple trees and I planted them out back, and they actually were starting to get like little things on them and all this stuff, right?
Leaves. Those are called leaves.
Shut up. Be nice to me. Okay, leaves starting. I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to bring everybody over just so they can see them. Not even kidding. Long story, I know. Somebody came in and decided to cut behind my house. Don't ask me why. It was not me. I have no idea, and ran over every flipping tree. I have no idea why they came behind my house and did it. Like, so that was my one try, and now I'm not doing it again because I'm afraid they're going to come. Like, I apparently needed to put something around it, but I had no idea somebody was going to come in my yard. My grass was cut. There's like a little strip of like little trees and stuff that we were trying to grow, and somebody decided they didn't like it and cut it. And it wasn't my neighbor.
Oh, man. That is really,
Oh, I was
Well, my-
devastated. Like I literally was, I mean, you guys know I'm not the tree. I was so excited that it was actually, I really thought it was gonna like grow. Okay, that was my story.
That's why the tree I planted in my front yard this year, I got the good old 10-footer.
That's what I need apparently. So AEP is
Well-
cutting out one of my trees, so I gotta find something to replace. So David, you can help me pick what's gonna go out there next. Once they remove the pine trees.
oh,
Alrighty.
well, I'll tell you, you have to protect your, at least I found enough, you have to protect your trees like if they're under like 5 foot.
Right.
I had a 4-foot volunteer dogwood. I had it on a pole and wrapped around, and the deer came by with his antlers, went sting, stripped that tree. He totally killed it.
Yeah, there are far too many deer in this area than our population can naturally support. I know that might be unpopular because people like deer in their backyard, but
Right.
there needs to be like probably tens of thousands of fewer deer in Franklin County.
And with that impossible problem, are we ready to wrap up?
Yes, move to adjourn.
I think we will call it an evening. And
I think we should start legislation to ban and criminalize deer presence in Minerva Park so that we can, arrest them and, have them removed.
we can just pass an ordinance and allowing bow hunting.
Bow hunting in
Not
the
suggest
No.
rifle or shotgun, but crossbow and bow would probably be fine.
Oh, you just wait for Facebook tomorrow after making remarks about the deer. Just watch out.
I love deer, but
The,
there are environmental realities. I
Yeah.
love them.
I'm with you, David. Now let's go. Everybody has 15 minutes until we do this again.
I might
All
still
right.
be in tears for that one. Bye.
Bye.